I'll say this, that if any of you are new here, or if you've been here for a while and you tend to talk to yourself like I do, it's okay. It it's okay. Sometimes sometimes you just can't wait for people to review your PR, and so you have to self-review. I think you just have to you have to do what you have to do to get a PR merged, I guess. So all right, good. Well, welcome everyone. Hey, if you haven't been around, then you may not be aware that there's a lot of sarcasm that flows here in the community. And so, um, but unsarcastically, if you do talk to yourself, hey, solidarity. I do too. So, okay, good. That's about the weirdest opening to the community meeting that we've had, I think. Hey, my name's Lee. I usually don't introduce myself. I'm hoping not to really talk a bunch today. So this is the Layer 5 community meeting. We have it once a week. We actually have meetings once every day, sometimes twice a day. Actually on Thursday, every second Thursday, I think it's 3 meetings, 3 meetings, not because meetings are what all of us enjoy doing, but there's just so much going on. And we end up getting involved with a few other open source groups. One of those groups is the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. So we end up spending a lot of time in their meetings or hosting their meetings. We end up spending time with other programs as well, with other internship programs, which I hope we'll hear a bit about one of those today. So if you're on the call, please do jot your name down in the meeting minutes. If you don't have access to the meeting minutes, please just request it. Or I think the document is open. You can make a comment, we'll get you access promptly. So the meeting minutes, much like everything that's done here, is done by the community. So don't be shy. As a matter of fact, some of the more tenacious community members, they tend to have the best luck in terms of learning a bunch, being impactful, getting to know a lot of people here and building relationships, because they're just, I'm trying to think of a different word other than tenacious. They're zealous. So anyway, I encourage you to be as well. We've got a number of familiar faces on the call and maybe a couple of new ones. It's a tradition here in the community to say hi to newcomers. So Cynthia, if you're on the call and you haven't been on one of these calls before, congratulations, you get to say hi and introduce yourself. Cynthia, do you want to say hi? And
hello. Hi, everyone.
Nice, good. So Cynthia, I thought I saw your name maybe on in reference to She Code Africa. Is that
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, very good. Is Nigeria your particular location in Africa, or?
Yes, it is. Yes, I'm in Lagos, Nigeria.
Oh, very nice. And then Cynthia, since we're getting to know you, did I think Ruth and Anita have been largely helping us organize how we can participate with She Code Africa, and I understand that we're looking at like kind of 3 different areas. Actually, I'm not going to steal Ruth's thunder. I don't want to go through the whole program, but I was going to ask Cynthia, is there a particular focus that you have as you step into the program?
Yes, actually. I was assigned to work on the main website. So my focus is mostly front end.
Nice. Oh, very good. Yeah, there's Well, there's a number of people who are on the call who've contributed to that main website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one of them is Yash Pendy. So he's the he's the last person on the participants list.
Okay.
Not that that is indicative of him being last in the community, but but we'll let him ponder that for the moment. So yeah, anyway, actually, like almost all the names, almost everyone here has contributed to the, but some of them are actively contributing to the main site. As a matter of fact, I think Josh, so not Yash, but Josh, is if we can get Josh to talk about, well, maybe two of the upcoming initiatives on the site, they're actually sub-sites. So this could be a very timely conversation to have. So no doubt those guys, a lot of the folks here will be saying hi. So thanks for coming on the call. Nice to have you.
Okay. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay. We also had some other community members drop in this week. Navendu looks like this is our whole list, including Nikhil, who was testing some stuff on Navendu. Nice. Hey, other quick announcements, and I'm going to try to stop talking soon. And that is, well, that we've. I'm not sure how many projects we have here. There's a few, or there's more than a few. Some of them you all have given more time to than others. The one that's the largest and that has the most features and is is Meshery. Another one that's really has a niche focus, a very specific focus. It's a specification. It's quite important. Not only so many of us have been focused on it, but it's called Service Mesh Performance. These two projects, from their genesis, our goal was to donate them to the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, and so I wanted to give an update on the community call because this affects all of us. Um, that those two projects were put up for consideration for review to be accepted into the CNCF, and I'll be dumbfounded if they aren't like gobbled up. Like they're great projects. Um, but this last review, a review was held this last Tuesday, if memory serves, and the committee that reviews them, they only got so far down the list of projects to review. They didn't yet make it to Meshery or Service Mesh Performance. So normally there's a review cadence of every 2 months. In this, excuse me, in this case, there are at least a couple of members of that committee. It's the Technical Oversight Committee for the CNCF that are new, and I'm assuming it's because of that reason that they're not waiting for another 2 months to complete the reviews, but they're scheduling a second review a month from this last Tuesday. So like on April 22nd, 27th, April 27th, these projects will be up for review. So that's the short of it. Speaking of it, like April 27th, I think just the following week would be KubeCon EU, and that's a conference. There's a collection of conferences that we generally try to participate in, and generally try to, part of my goal for any of you that want to, is to have you speak at one of these conferences. And some of you already have, some of you are about to. Those that already have know just how much work it is. I wouldn't sugarcoat it. It's a poop load of work. So don't raise your hand to do it unless you're ready to give me your left pinky. Anyway, so we're going to be talking at least a couple of times at KubeCon. I actually forgot to submit, but we always have a few things to talk about because we're maintainers of a number of the projects. which means I'm going to select a couple of you to come on stage with me, most likely, at least one of you. Um, there's Kubernetes Community Days. So I don't know if how many of you have seen this, but it's highly the first two or hmm, there have been Kubernetes Community Days, which is just a single day conference that is like a mini KubeCon, if you will. It's like a cloud native day. There's been a lot of these types of things, and there's a second wave of them that's starting. There's one community day, Kubernetes Community Days Africa, Kubernetes Community Days Bangalore. Both of these conferences still have their call for papers open. And what do you know? There are any number of you that live in and around in India on the call or in Africa that are on the call. It's a good chance to talk at the or submit a talk. Let me know if you do. I'll help. I know some of you are submitting. So CSI. Oh, and Navendu, speaking of talking, so Navendu's going to give a talk on Meshry and on service mesh things at this conference. So that's nice. We'll certainly promote that. Okay. I think those are near as I could. There's some other announcements in the ecosystem that are maybe interesting to you all. One is that Linkerd Link is up for graduation. Linkerd is one of the more popular service meshes. So I'm writing up that review now, and I hope to finish it today. Which would be one of actually it might be a point of interest to everyone, not necessarily the technology, but Linkerd, the project, linkerd.io. This is the project page. Actually, even Cynthia or others that go to work on the Layer5 IO site, one of the cool things about the site is this landscape. This landscape helps people understand what service meshes are available, like Linkerd, and there's a lot of them. And hopefully this is a great reference for people. And there's some recent work that's going on this page to make it even more interactive and some good things. But Linkerd is one of those service meshes, and Linkerd is ready to graduate, like graduate to a new level in the CNCF. And one of the criteria for an open source project to achieve that level, the level of graduation, actually Jubril, who's not on the call, he had asked this question on yesterday's newcomers call. So I'll recap this briefly. He had asked, what's the difference between these different project levels in the CNCF? Like, there are three of them. There's this level called graduated, this level called incubating, and this other level called sandbox. They're kind of right here. Like, these are very early projects, only so well supported. Larger projects have been more broadly adopted, graduated, and not boring projects, but stable. And anyway, part of the criteria to make it to this level is literally the way that the criteria reads is one of the items says that the project should have 2 contributors from different organizations, meaning that the intention is to promote diversity amongst those who are governing the projects, so that it isn't, a single entity that controls a project and uses a project for their own evil deeds, so that it's a healthy project, right? So that it's the interesting thing is that the way that wording literally reads is it literally reads contributor, 2 contributors, or contributors from 2 different organizations. I think the spirit of what was written is intended to say 2 different maintainers from 2 different group organizations. But even at that, or I will say this, publicly on the CNCF calls as well. Like it's a really low bar, and it's pretty stupid. I mean, it needs to be changed. It needs to be changed such that it's a higher number from different organizations, and that it becomes really clear what a maintainer is and what those responsibilities are. And because when you look at the criteria on paper for a graduated project, Meshery clearly hits those for incubating. And I have to go look again. I just Meshery, most likely hits them for graduated as well. When we submit Meshery, we'll probably submit it here just as a natural kind of path. You don't have to start at Sandbox, but it'll just be easier, I think, for the project to go in, start there. There's a lot of due diligence that happens to arrive at this level now, based on a number of things that I won't go into. But anyway, to the extent that any of that was interesting to you all, based on how you measure the health of an open source project, kind of part of how the CNCF works, part of what will affect these two projects. So just in case it's a question for any of you, should these two projects go into the CNCF, it will hardly change what we do here, or rather, we wouldn't really skip a heartbeat. It will be, the roadmap, the maintainers, the contributors, the flow, that'll all stay the same. So, okay. Ruth isn't on, is she? Can someone ping Ruth for me? Anita? Or Anita, maybe do you want to speak to part of this?
Not exactly. I think Ruth's had something she prepared. Let me try contacting her.
Okay, sure. So, and now, Josh, that probably brings us up to you.
Okay. So we'll be talking about discuss. I'll just share my screen. Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay, so this is one of the sub-site that Lee was talking about for Layer5. This is discuss.layer5.io, which will be a discussion forum and is made up from discourse. So basically, we are going to talk about three things. First one is the design overview. So there are three design elements that were planned to add. First one is the navbar, second one is the hero, and the third one is the footer. So for navbar, I added the menu, the links, and also the shadow, which appears when we scroll and which disappears when we go back up. I also tried having the white color when we scroll down and having the original color, but didn't get it right. So that item is pending. I'll have to look into if I can find some solution to that. And the second thing is the hero. So we are using a component here as well, and it is pretty much similar to what we need for what the Figma design was and what we aspire to have it. So I think there's only a button missing, which is ask a question. And Yash Pandey is so he has already forked, and he is looking to work upon if we can add up a button below ask a question. So it will be exactly similar to the Figma design that we have. And the third one is the footer. So Yashvardhan was unable to add the social icons, and I talked to him, so I think he will also be able to add those social icons. Apart from that, and the links are yet to be added. So these are the three items that we have added up, and yeah, that's all. So if Yash Pandey or Yashvardhan wants to tell anything about these three things.
Josh, question. I probably missed it. Did you just demo what the type ahead looks like in the search? Or
It is same to this one. Like
oh, I see.
it's if you search greetings.
Oh, nice. Oh, wow. That's nice. Okay. Great.
Apparently, what I tried was not correct because I created a custom, a custom HTML. I injected my own code, but that wasn't intended. So I think this one is a better implementation. Plus, I just need to add the button.
Yeah, and also as we talked in the last meeting, so the hero would be only present for the home page and not for any other page till we have another hero design or something. Yeah.
Oh, very good. And looks like we have the footer in there as well now, which is close to. I think it's just the font that's might be the only thing that's off.
Yeah, and also the links are missing, I guess.
Oh, got it. Has anyone tried to actually subscribe to the newsletter? Does it? Yeah, it works. Okay.
Yeah, that works. Like it's the same one as it would redirect to the Calcode Studios.
Yeah,
one.
that needs to change at some point. Like I don't know how to
Okay.
change. Hopefully, hopefully it doesn't throw people off. I just created that a long time ago, and so
Okay.
but this is great. So part of the reason that we're going through over the discuss.layer5.io today is because one, hopefully it affects everyone here in a good way. That everyone, well, much like a lot of the things that we do here, one, if you're not familiar with discourse, this subsite discuss.layer5.io is a discourse server that's running, and you all are reskinning it, making it look like an extension of the main site, which is it's looking good. And so it's an opportunity for anyone to learn discourse. It's an opportunity to impact the community as well by answering any number of not necessarily answering questions in the forum, like please go ahead and do that as and when it goes live and all that, please participate, but I meant answering questions about like some of these settings, like I'm just randomly saying one, like I think a number of the other discourse forums that I'm a member of, I think they will send me a weekly digest, maybe a monthly. I wanted to say it's weekly, and I'm pretty sure it's not daily, because I think if it were, I would have like unsubscribed, or like I'm not that active in them. And so like just that is a decision to be made, right? And there's like, I'm not sure, a few hundred settings, to how the forum works. So part of the reason that Josh is presenting is to include you all in that decision-making process. Josh, maybe one of the things as you go to, no doubt, discuss or have this discuss site as part of Monday's websites conversation, that you might, I wonder if we shouldn't try to walk through some of the decisions that have been made already, some of the settings that are there already. Maybe not to walk through all 200 of them or what have you, but just maybe if there's a couple where you're not quite sure if that setting should be changed or not, then maybe we could bubble those up for discussion.
Yeah, so like we talked about we'll be having the plugin overview. So I guess I was going to move on to that part. But if we do have other
Oh,
topic, then yeah, we can
no.
move into websites.
No, I didn't know. Yeah, no, please. I interrupted. Please continue.
Okay, so the first one is for the anti-spam. So for Akismet, we'll have to purchase a plan if we wish to have it. So we are having three options currently. The second one is to have a captcha while a new user logs in. Logs in or creates an account, and the third one is to allow only social logins. And what I've seen on most of the because the captcha is not preferred, or they are not much supporting on discourse, so they generally use the third option for staying away from spam, that is allow only social logins. And we have this five. Apart from these five, we also have other ones, but I don't think we might be adding those. We have Microsoft Office as well. So we'll have Twitter, GitHub, Discord, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So yeah, here's a decision on, like, I looked upon the possible options and I could only find these three.
That's a curious point. Yeah, I hadn't. Is one of the options to allow people to use just their email address? You know, like not social auth, but email.
Yeah, like so do you mean only using, so giving them no option for any social login?
Rather, what I meant to ask is there a sixth option? Or you know what, Josh, you probably said this, and I probably missed part of what you said, but I guess my question is, outside of the 5 social auth options for logging in, is one of those available options simply letting someone sign up using an email address as opposed to?
Yeah, that's already there, and we can remove this 5, so we can have only that option available. But the problem is that it is the main origin of spam. So like for email addresses, like I looked upon, like I had a research of a bit. So many discourse forums have this issue where there are fake email addresses and fake accounts, and like you'll get thousands of users in just a second, and the bots would just go into your discourse and spam it all. So for that thing, they use only social logins because it would be more safer than only email address. But it depends on us, like if we wish to have it or not. Like if I'll just
Yeah,
I'll just show it once. Yeah, so currently we do have this one for email, and we'll have the other options once you have the tokens for the other social logins here. But if we wish to do not have this one, then we can remove all of these social, and we can also remove this entirely, or we can also remove this entirely. We can have either of the two or both.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Lee, finish what you were saying.
no, you're no.
So my question is actually a little naive. See, first there are two things. First of all, you have the email, and then the social login, right? I'm just calling it that to make it simple.
Yeah.
So the reason that you're having the social login, not the email, is because you're worried about spam.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have this email and the social login, you're not getting rid of the problem, right? The other question is, how are we how are we ensured? I mean, how do we know that by using this social login, and the social logins, they have all these problems, right? If you go and look at the elections, and the Russians manipulating the election with Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff, does Facebook, GitHub, and LinkedIn, do they all provide some kind of a guarantee that that the email logins that they have are genuine? And how do you determine that? How do you determine I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do these things. It doesn't mean that, you shouldn't take any precautions at all, but I'm just curious, what are the properties of a fake identity? How
Yeah.
do we?
So
If this is just a problematic thing, if see if there's something that it's a unnecessary question or something is stupid, or we can let it go, so we you don't really have to answer the question really, And what happens if you do have fake IDs? Is that wrong?
Right. Yeah. I think Josh, we might have. Josh's audio isn't coming through. He probably had to mute for a second just to swear and curse and then just kidding. So no, Josh, looks like we lost Josh altogether. That's unfortunate. So yeah, Vijay, some great questions. Actually, it was in part about what I was gonna ask, kind of take a poll of everyone, and that is like to your first point. It's actually, I think the reason why Josh was bringing up this topic was to say, hey, here's a decision point. Should this site only allow people to auth with their social login and not their email? Kind of to your first point about trying to avoid spam altogether. I think part of the data points he was raising up was one of the plugins, the Akismet plugin. It's an anti-spam, I guess its use requires a subscription. So,
so one of the problems by using emails for login is that anyone can generate emails on their Linux machine and they can just bomb the site. So basically, managing the identity is difficult, and we can just offload it to social logins, assuming that GitHub and those kind of things are making sure that they are doing IP checking, that not a lot of accounts are being created on the same IP. Obviously, some people can also bypass that security, but so this identity management won't be offered to us. So basically, it won't be that easy to spam the site just by creating tons of fake email IDs on your system to log in, to basically create the account. That's an issue using email IDs for login.
yeah, exactly. I'm sorry to like my college has a timer for 4,000 seconds. I have to log into the Wi-Fi at every 4,000 seconds, so it gets logged out and I have to log in back. So that's the issue. Yeah. So yeah, exactly what Utkarsh was saying, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you, Utkarsh. Because the main problem is not like people creating those fake email IDs, but the problem is with bots. So like if we the bots are more easy, like the bots are more specified to use the fake email addresses over compared to fake social media addresses. So I do not assure that we won't have a spam problem if we use social media icons. I truly agree with what Vijay is saying, that there may be an issue, but I'm just talking about the solution that most of the community forums use, and so we might go on with using it.
That's fine. Actually, I do have a follow-up question. Say, suppose I log in with say with Facebook. Okay. Now the question is, how do I communicate? Does it mean that I'm using Facebook? So how do I put my messages? Does it preclude me from putting messages from a different source, even by logged in with Facebook? You see what I'm trying to say?
Not exactly. Can you just
Okay.
repeat?
Okay, so suppose I log in as Facebook, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Facebook just authenticated me. Just if Facebook knows who I am because I'm a member there, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know all that. You don't know my user ID or anything like that. You just know that I'm an authenticated person.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question now is, when I communicate, are you guaranteed that that information is coming from one particular source?
You mean what, from one IP?
Yeah, or it does it come from one particular email? So if I send an email after I logged in, would that email, what would that email be? Because one of the things we mentioned was that you might get thousands of emails, right? Like it'll be like a DDoS attack or something like that.
Yeah,
Or, you know,
yeah, yeah.
okay. So the so if I'm logged in as Facebook and if I wish to communicate, say by email, how would that email come to you? What would it have in the from address?
From this site, it would be discuss at layer5.io. Is that what you asked, Vijay?
Okay, maybe I misunderstood something. So when you talk about a lot of emails coming, so are you talking about incoming emails or outgoing emails?
No, we're not talking about emails, we're talking about users. So like there would be spam users, and then they would be spamming the posts and the topics and categories. So we are not talking about messages, we are talking about the users that get signed up. So like
Okay,
we are talking about getting a genuine user or getting a bot to enter into discourse.
that's fine. All right.
Yeah. Uh,
Good deal. Josh, do we, actually maybe given the time, we should I'll move on. Josh, were you just sharing kind of a written set of
yeah.
considerations?
Yeah.
And is that in the design spec that maybe we could point everyone here to
No, so I have made another doc. I can share it as well. No problem.
all right.
So like I just wrote the bullet points that I was going to talk about. So I will just edit it and share it because this won't make any sense without me explaining it. So we can, yeah, no problem.
You'll end up putting those into here.
In the discuss design spec. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Nice. So very good. Josh, thank you for taking us through this. For everyone, as we go to wrap that topic, if these set of topics or the discourse forum is interesting, there's a number of people who are working on the project. Josh Patel is the right individual to go see. And this document that's inside of the shared community drive is probably the right place to just sort of sift through what the project is and why we're doing it and different considerations. And Josh will put in some of those or update some of this as well. So. Nice. By the way, if someone could help me out, I didn't catch all what was our consensus? Like, what was the sense of, were most people preferring social auth? Like, is kind of what it looks like. Not to filter out, not from a security perspective. I just mean like personal preference as you go around the internet in general. Do most of you lean into using social auth or no?
I always put in my email, and that's because I don't want anybody to know where else I'm involved.
Yeah, I do the same thing, Vijay. Yep, and it's mostly a privacy thing. It's two things for me. It's a privacy thing, and it's funny because what Blossom was saying, well, that makes total sense. It's like, geez, if I'm gonna sign up for the email, then like one, it's just a reminder, a mental reminder to me that I'm probably gonna start to get some emails. Two, I probably have to go do this verification thing in my email, and that could be a pain in the rump depending upon what device I'm using at what time. And um, it's funny because I think of it in the other way, that for me, like trying to remember which social auth I used on what sites, and like for many of the sites that I frequent visit, or yeah, that I visit frequently, this is just my own, this is just my, in my head, this is how the world works, or like that it's more of a pain in the butt to click on the social auth login, it redirect me to a different page to then sign into that provider if I wasn't already, if I didn't already have an active session, confirm that, come back, accept their terms, and then, but yeah, anyway, does anyone else want to share? So VJ email, Lee email, Navendu social, Husseina social, Blossom social. I think Cynthia, did you say social? Dhruv, Piyush, social. You guys are all, like social. What's going on? Okay, I suspect it's social that's going to win out. Is the, which, by the way, for those that manage a website, social login is a bit easy. Well, I don't know. I would say a little bit easier, a little more convenient. And it does come with the added benefits of letting some other global identity provider, like a Facebook or a Google or what have you, bear the brunt of fake accounts. So, okay, so great. Now that we've got 14 minutes left, next topic is just, briefly. There's this thing in my background, on over whatever shoulder it's over, is there's one of the projects that we have here is called Get Nighthawk. We were just nominating at least one maintainer for the project, Vinayak Sharma, who's not on the call right now. But the project, we need to pick its logo, and there's been a few logos designed, and they're linked inside of the doc. So everyone here is welcome to have an opinion and vote on what, drop it in Slack or drop it in a comment here. But it's been a decision that's been hanging out there for a while. So, okay. Is Ruth with us by chance, just in case? Okay, we'll get it next time. Utkarsh, I think we're up to you.
Okay, so yeah.
And Utkarsh, sorry, I should have explained this a little bit better. Oh, you know what? I did explain it in comments. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically it's about, it's about partnering with open application project. If no one, like, if someone here is not familiar what exactly open application model is and why we are exactly doing that. So basically we have a new feature, upcoming feature called parent files, and that actually builds upon this particular spec, that is home spec. If anyone wants to go and look at the spec, they can definitely do that. Lee has mentioned this link uh, in the document. So right now, I think we are looking at adding a feature section in Mishri.io, which talks about how Mishri is leveraging open application model specification to build its patterns. Basically, what we have done is extended Mishri to be a OM compliant runtime. So it can share all of the traits and scopes and components and those kind of things with other OM runtimes like Qbilla. So right now, I think, not that I think, I know we are discussing that we can add that thing add this particular upcoming feature along with highlighting how open application model onto the Meshri.io website, just like we highlight other things like service mesh performance and like stuff like that. So I'm not sure if did I explain that properly? I mean, I'm not sure if everyone has seen here what patterns are. I mean, I hope it's not like with what is home and what patterns did I miss something or something like that. I'm not sure. If someone has some clarifying questions or suggestions, please do ask because I'm kind of out of. Ali, if you're saying something, you're on mute.
Well, there you go. I was talking to myself again. Yes. Yeah. Sorry. So, yep. Thank you for that, Utkarsh. I do anticipate that the majority of us don't really know what you're talking about, and that's okay. We'll get it over time. That uh, Jubril is someone who Navendu is working with to try to bring forth some additional, sub commands for patterns, for mesh rectl patterns. But other than that, this I think I think there's clarity on what you had first said, which is that there's a new feature coming in this next release. So we just released V050. Everyone's starting on this next release. This integration will be a feature. And I think for the most part, we know how that feature is going to work now. And so there's, to your point and to what you had said, oh, hey, that's a familiar, that looks like Utkarsh's animated GIF. Okay. Now, Utkarsh, we need another one of your animated GIFs out here discussing service mesh patterns and Meshry as an OM runtime. And I think that that's, relatively straightforward. There are, at the moment, maybe a few other than yourself that understand, what we're trying to do there. And so as you go to write it up and as you go to describe it at a feature level, I think that'll help the rest of us. I'm putting a link here to describe the fact that like what service mesh patterns are. But Utkarsh, thank you for that. That was really what I was hoping for, is that I think that there's clarity that we should go put a small feature section, and then subsequent to that, we still have that open-ended conversation with Ryan Zhang and Li Zhang about literal code integration. The last conversation that you had was with Ryan, is that right? And he had taken a look at the code and.
Yeah, it was about Mishriya's home runtime, and yeah, that's what my last conversation with Brian sounded.
Okay, but no definitive like next steps.
No.
Okay. Okay. All right, good. Well, is there any, I assume there's no questions on the patterns, but if there are, please see Utkarsh. Is Alonso with us today? Oh, Jubril, you joined just in time for some patterns. Good. Alonso is not here, but one of the things that there are like two things that are a pain for our docs site, or at least for the Meshry docs site. Does anybody know what those two pains are off the top of their head? Or one of them is? So one of those pains in the butts is that the site itself is only in English at the moment. Alonso and a collection of about 8 or so others from various locations, and mostly in Mexico, Ruben from Spain, was helping translate the site, and they'd made it so far, or only so far. But part of that translation is yeah, there's the work of literally translating English to well-written Espanol. But then there's the site structure itself. So when I'm looking at a page in Spanish, good, this content here in Spanish. Well, that looks like English to me. Granted, these two are pronouns, so they probably won't, be translated. But project, that's a different word in Spanish. Same thing, like these should be mostly, so like the whole site itself, like how do you have a system, a framework for multiple language? So it's a challenge. There's another, and so Alonso has been, with some others, have been chasing that down. The second challenge here is versioning. So we were just talking about Meshre's versions, what software release version it's on. When you go to the docs site, you can come to understand that. You can look at the releases. But if you want to look at documentation specific to like the visa, like to a specific release, well, you can see the release notes. That's it's helpful. It'll tell you this is what had gone on. But the docs, they're all the same. I guess what I'm trying to say is the documentation isn't versioned. So that's a second sort of significant challenge with this. That's what Alonso was going to talk about. There's an outstanding pull request that if those two challenges kind of are interesting to any of you, there's an outstanding pull request in the Meshre repo that you could familiarize with. The one that's outstanding is about multi-language support. And it's a big change because it affects the whole docs site. But it's an intriguing challenge, and I think we're at the tail end of it. So, okay, that was. Anybody else have topics for today? Questions? Anybody else want to, talk to themselves for a little while?
If you don't mind, I have another question.
Yep.
So, in this translation, what is the goal there? Is the goal to have all this documentation is in different languages, or is it to be able to translate the documentation into different languages on the fly as needed? See, because there is a limit to how many languages you can possibly translate, right? You have to have so many resources and so many versions.
Yeah. Yeah, to your
No,
point.
you just have to start with more than one language, and then you're gonna add the others. So, and some keywords that you're saving, maybe in a database or whatever for each language. You can also do that for.
No, I agree. I was wondering. See, for instance, just maybe this is just idle talk, but in that Google, or in Facebook, when somebody types in different language, you can click on translate this for me, right?
Yeah, totally.
Maybe this is just wild talk. Maybe I should cut it out. But so the thing is, are we trying to literally translate everything, or are we trying to pursue a means of translating for people who are, because there's so many languages. They write in this group that people, there's so many Indian languages I don't speak, and other people speak. They're people from Africa, and I'm sure I don't even know how many languages there are in Africa. How many languages? Yes, we can take a small step. We can translate it into German or Chinese, okay? Because those are the big things. But what about Spanish? What about Hebrew? What about Arabic? What about
yeah? So, VJ, we were using Google Translate on the Layer5 IO site. And what we had at the bottom of that site was just a set of flags that people could click on to switch to invoke Google Translate for the site. So they would kind of switch into a mode like this. And yeah, that was certainly while the translation isn't maybe always in the right context exactly, it was certainly close enough for the very low number of visitors that actually would use the feature. Over here, you're right, there's kind of two aspects to the effort. One is a language plugin, a language framework, a framework in the docs to be able to plug in and switch between different languages. And then there's a second effort about actual transcription into whatever languages that people who come here can do. I'll be forthright and say, when it was originally suggested, like I try to really be encouraging of any suggestions that people have to get them to help them learn, give them an excuse and a place to do stuff. And I wish Alonso was here so I could say that while he's sitting here, but like that's mostly what this is. Like, are they going to keep the docs freshly translated into Spanish? Maybe we'll see. I hope that the community gets that big. But right now, no, there's no way in hell. Also, almost all the viz, I mean, like even for super popular projects like Kubernetes, like ultimately and eventually they get a Chinese translation. And that's about like most of the, and I'm not, hopefully I'm not speaking out of my arse right now, but like most of the rest, like most of the rest of the visitors generally can make their way through English, or like, and I guess don't take my word for it, but like go look and see for some of these other sites that are significantly supported, like Kubernetes. They've got English, so they do have more than I'd said now, and I don't know what way they're doing this. It's funny, actually, they're using the same theme as we are, except I'm sure they're using Hugo, not Jekyll. Which is also interesting because they don't have a version number, do they? Add docs translation. Yeah, so these are being done by humans, I think. Yeah. Anyway, VJ, I don't know if that helps answer some of your question. Like it's a difficult effort. It's a big undertaking, and yeah, it starts with the theme that you're using or the framework that you're using for your docs to be able to support internationalization and have a system by which that's done. And that's in part what this brings forth is a system. Some of the pages had already been translated just because there's nothing stopping people from creating new pages that they translate, and those can be set off to the side, or but then yeah, there needs to be a framework to connect them all together. So with that, we're over time. Final comments from anybody? I think I just have one parting thought here, if I may. And this is just because I'm just trying to get over this. I was called out for talking to myself today, and I don't know. I'll let you all silently judge me, I think is the thing. Okay, that's good. Thanks everybody. It's been nice to talk to you all. It's very nice to see Cynthia and Blossom, and I guess Jubril as well. Fine. It's nice to see Jubril. Okay, good. Aditya, I see you. All the rest of you, you're all old timers. So, okay. Bye, guys. Bye, all.
Bye.
Bye.
Next week. Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.